1, go.
It's almost 100. I can't believe it. So 92 episodes, and how long have we been doing this now?
Is
it 2 years?
It's right around 2 years. I know that because we just got the invoice.
Oh yeah, for the renewal.
For the
right.
renewal,
Yeah.
and that was we paid the first year in advance. So that means we just crossed over 2 years this last month. But
kind of crazy because we've been having this conversation lately on like the podcast has just been a huge reacher for us. Like everywhere we go, it's. I just walked in, you were talking to Milos, and someone mentioned yesterday, I didn't know you were friends with Milos and, whatever else. And I said, well, he lives in Vegas. And people are like, really? He lives in It's just wild that people just, they lost kind of touch. I thought Milos, I think he's on so many different podcasts. And, as we're approaching 100, I just don't remember us this is so exciting and da-da-da-da-da. I'm thinking, well, who's going to watch this thing, right?
I know.
I'm still one of those people, and you always call me like the voice of doom because I always think, okay, what's going to be the best, the middle, and then the worst, right? And you think, well, who wants to listen to us, at the same time? And, and we talk about all these different topics. And today we're actually going to do some Q&A stuff. But, you've been back now. We just did our whole thing on the European breakdown, and I just overheard you talking about the Olympia and trying to make plans. And what's amazing is, dude, it's like you just come back, you're falling back in the sleep patterns, right? I'm shocked you weren't super sick coming back, especially with that time. What was it, 6 or 9 hours?
9 hours.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Are you still having trouble keeping up, or?
I still wake up early. I'll wake up at 2:30 or 3. And then I'll make myself go back to 5. Bed to
Do you go to bed earlier? Or?
I've been going to sleep I go lay down around 10, but I don't fall asleep till 11:30, 12, like normal. Mm-hmm. I usually, for years, I've operated on 5 hours of sleep.
Yeah, which is, I always talk about my best schedule, and it's a very common question. It's not one of our questions today, but number one, how many hours of sleep do I necessarily need? Mm-hmm. But what was your best schedule? And my best schedule is in bed by 9 and up by 6. Mm-hmm. So that's 6. That's 9 hours. I was 300 pounds at that time, but
were you able to just go lay down and sleep for 9 hours?
Yeah, I was. And that's the crazy. Unless I get up and use the bathroom when I was training for contests, I'd get up, and sometimes I was drinking a lot. But I was, I just laid down at 9 o'clock, and I woke up early, and I did take a nap during the day too, which is crazy.
But that's why you grew the way you did.
I mean, they always say naps as a bodybuilder or athletes, short, even if it's 20 minutes, is very beneficial.
Why do you think
today, the funny thing is now everyone talks about ice baths and and saunas and everything else as recovery, where they forget that the sleep is number one.
I look, I'm not a coach or anything like that, but I don't understand how more people don't discuss if you don't sleep, you don't grow. If you don't sleep, your body's not burning fat. No,
but remember, dude, 10 years ago, we never heard of sleep apnea.
No.
Were bodybuilders considered obese? I don't know.
I mean, technically, yeah. I mean, sleep apnea has been around a long time, but it's prevalent now.
Yeah, it's very large discussion in our industry.
And I think it's because it's a serious problem. And once a couple guys get treated and they see that they can actually sleep, I have really bad sleep apnea. And
how did you know, though? That's the question. What are some of the triggers?
Snoring, being tired when you wake up, tossing and turning a lot. I used to wake up choking, though, so I knew it. I've coughed blood before.
And how long did you wait before you went? Be honest.
7 or 8 years ago.
Dude,
I didn't know.
No. How long did you wait before you went and said, you know what, something's wrong, I need to...
We went to Dubai, and I remember that was really bad. I was falling asleep in meetings. I couldn't stay awake. I had not slept in months.
So how long do you think it had been going on?
My whole life. I've had it my whole life. I remember as a little kid having it. And mine is neurological. It's not just from being bigger. Mine's neurological. So even if I get back down to 150 pounds, I would still have it. It wouldn't be as severe, but I would still have it. And once I came back, I knew it was really bad because I woke up coughing and choking a couple times, and like I was like, holy shit, I'm gonna die right now. And when I went and saw the doctor, they got me in and they did the whole sleep test, which now you can get it done really easy. And I did the whole sleep test, and when I went and sat back down with the lung doctor, they said, I don't know how to tell you this, but you shouldn't be alive. Like your numbers are way off the chart.
Like what numbers are they talking about?
It was like I don't
know what the number.
You have a certain amount of apneic, I think
like
it's
you
called.
Wake up every
yes.
certain times.
How many times? How long do you stop breathing for in an hour? And essentially, in the hour of night that I was sleeping, I would wake up, my body would twitch or something over 300 times, and I would sleep. It was something like 57 out of 60 minutes I wasn't breathing. So I would not breathe for 50 minutes, and then I'd go, and then I'd breathe for 4 or 5 seconds, and then my body would stop breathing again for another 40 seconds.
Bad for your heart, right?
Yes, bad for your heart. I mean, look, that's what killed Reggie White. So it killed Pimp C, the rapper.
I forget how long ago that was, though.
Yeah, Reggie White died in late 90s, I think, or early 2000s. But once you get treated and once you, in the beginning, it's very difficult because you feel like you're suffocating when you have the mask on. But now, once you put it on, and as soon as the air hits, it's like a soothing where you're like, oh, and then you just go to sleep.
Where does someone go though if they want to like
they go to their doctor and just say, look,
make an appointment saying I'm having trouble sleeping.
Yes,
or I sleep
there's something that I'm actually working on with Vic, and I actually need to get a hold of him because he owns the largest sleep apnea company in America, and I want to get something set up for the fitness world where you can get telemed, non-invasive. Like when I did it, I had to go sit down with the doctor. They had to set an appointment at a clinic in North Vegas, and you show up and they put you on this crappy bed and they hook you up to all these cables on your forehead and your feet and your legs and your stomach.
That's not good, then.
And you lay there and there's cameras all over and they're like, here, go to sleep. And you're like, yeah, okay, I can't just fall asleep. But now you can do it at home and a lot easier, where they didn't have this option when I did it.
But don't you feel like there's a lot of people that have it? I mean,
sure.
I think when I was bigger, like I remember snoring and waking up and being like,
you for sure had it.
Yeah, like sleeping on the plane. Like sometimes even now I fall asleep on the plane, but I mean, I wake up and I'm scared, but I don't know. You ever get that on like when you fall asleep and you just like spill a drink or?
Yeah. So when I would get it, for whatever reason, it would like something would get caught. Like I would be breathing and something would come up and it would get caught in between my windpipe and, just being able to breathe. And I couldn't breathe in. If I went, it would get caught and I'd just suffocate. And so I'd have to go I'd have to position myself a certain way and breathe through my nose and just sit there for a couple minutes until my body calmed. A lot of times it was stomach acid that would come up. And that stomach acid would get caught there and you can't breathe and you feel like you're going to die. And I've had this happen probably 50 times.
I'm sure a lot of you guys out there have had some sort of sleep apnea, right? I mean, it'd be cool to hear like how people treat it or whatever else, and maybe now they're doing it with the ring and everything else. That's more. And
I'm actually us talking about this. I'm gonna message Vic when we get off this and say, hey, when can we talk about doing this? Because this is a huge market. And it changes your life. Like Regan had it really bad, and I could tell he had it bad. And now that he has his machine, he has a travel machine, he has one at home, and he's like, dude, it changed my life. Brian Shaw has it. Same thing. He's like, dude, I can't function without it.
I know a lot of the guys have it. Yeah, speak of that, so on the health aspect, I go actually tomorrow for my blood work. So I haven't had blood work done since before my Fit for 50. So it's been probably 4 months.
Is it going to find out how much gear you took?
No. I will see what my test levels are.
Are they going to be 6,000 or something? Milos will tell you it's normal.
People love that. Huh? I keep coming. It's funny. I'm on YouTube, like looking at stuff, and I just put up a crazy YouTube on JTV, and I just talk from the heart a little bit about how I'm going to stop training as much. But every time I turn on YouTube, I see this thing. You're not taking enough tests. There's someone did a video on Milos at the podcast telling me that I'm not taking enough tests or I need to take more or something.
Yeah,
it's kind of funny, because I don't know what the limits. It's kind of funny what everyone's level, like comfortable level is, right?
Yeah, everyone's different.
I mean, a doctor would tell you, oh yeah, 400's good, and then another one tells you 600, and then Milos is like, if you're not at least 1,000, you're
You're garbage. You're a woman.
No, a woman. Yeah, that's what he said.
I don't even know. Look, the last time I got mine back, it said like 290.
Yeah. Well,
and I got it back, but like for years, I'd stay on top of it. You just get busy. I just don't care.
No, I mean, but dude, it's your health markers, and that's why, like, literally, I mean, since we finished this whole thing, and I'm really making a run for now, just focusing on fitness. Like, my life is fitness and not like bodybuilder-ish, right? And multiple meals. I was just eating a J-Bowl actually. What
do you think of those?
In fact, I thought it was good. I just had two. I had two since I came down here today.
Look at this.
A little easier. I sit here and complain about it all the time because I'm like, dude, I don't want to have to, cook the food, and sometimes I don't have time, right? So it's a little easier to pack the meals. And
I get so lazy with it. I'll be at home and I have all the food, and I'm like, it's just so easy to boom, DoorDash, and away your food comes.
I know. Well, plus you just got home, so you're recovering. You're back in the gym training. I mean, you seem more motivated than when you left.
No, you
didn't even train when you were there.
No.
So tell us about your foot issue now.
No, so I, for the last couple months, I got something done on my shoulder. My left shoulder was surgically repaired, and I got like some work done on the tendon, and it got so bad I couldn't barely move it. Like, it almost either re-aggravated something, or
didn't you get tissue work done?
Yeah, that's what it was. It was I think that it was just too aggressive, and for at least 6 to 8 weeks it hurt even just doing this. And now I'm feeling somewhat normal, so I've been back in the gym for the last since I got back, and I train every day. And even when I went and did the incline hammer strength chest press, I put 2.5 plates on it. I could do it like 15 times and I had no pain. So it feels good to be able to just go train without pain. So I can already feel my body getting back to the way it was. I'm sweating all day now, and I'm hungry all day, and I wasn't for a long time. But while we were overseas, I've had like this weird pain in the bottom of my foot for a while. Like, it was just a little sore, and I kind of just it is what it is. And while we were overseas, it got really bad. Like right in the bottom of the middle part of your, not the middle part of your foot, but just south of where your toes are, where kind of the knuckles are in the foot. It felt like there was like a ball underneath, and it hurt. And it was to the point where I was like limping really bad, but I still, while I was overseas,
thought it was a fracture, actually.
I thought for sure, I said either I have a hairline fracture or something's broke, because I've ran in, my left toe, my third toe from the left was actually pointed this way where it's normally straight. And I'm like, all right, something's not good here. But I still did everything while I was over there. I still walked around. I still did everything. I just limped, and I'm sure I probably looked ridiculous. But when I got back, I went and saw the foot surgeon, and he looked at it, and he told me that there's a tendon that runs across.
So is it wrapped up right now? Or?
Yeah, it's wrapped up.
Okay.
There's a tendon that runs across, and he said that tendon was either partially torn or it's moved. He could tell it was moved, and he said, and you could see the way my toe was pointed up, that by taping it a certain way, it forces my toe back down, and then the tendon moves up, and now I'm not walking on it. But he said I have to do that for the next month. So I have to tape my toe a certain way, really tight, and it forces it down.
You know what's amazing is you think, okay, it's one toe.
Yeah.
It's like when I strain my calves, I've done this several times training. You don't realize how much you utilize it until you can't utilize it.
Even last night, I'm telling you, I'm like, I'm going to go train. I'm like, I can train back. No big deal. Then you realize, like, every movement, you're pushing down on your feet.
Dude, it's like you don't realize how much your calf muscles work until you get an injury and realize that, holy crap, I can't walk right.
Yes.
And that's happened. My plantaris muscle, I tore it in the gym, and I was like, oh, what? They're like, oh, it does nothing. I said, well, it does nothing, but it can't walk without
every
it.
step. And I don't even realize that. He's like, oh, just kind of stay off your foot. I'm like, no problem. And you're like, if I have to go to the bathroom, I have to walk. Yeah. If I go get some food, I have to walk. I can't just
it's crazy,
sit here all day. But even last night when I'm training back, I'm like looking around. I'm like, I can't do any rows because you have to push your feet down, the pressure, and it hurts. And I'm like, well, this machine I can't do because it's underneath my knees and I have to push down. And I'm like, okay, there's 3 machines I can do. So I just did what I could do.
It's disappointing when you're in your mid-40s, not even mid.
I'm not even mid-40s yet. I'm close.
And it's like your body's breaking down. It's telling you, normally it's like injury after injury, Yeah. And it's like, what is it telling you? I mean, that when I tore my bicep and stuff, that was my body talking to me, being like, okay, enough is enough, right? Yeah. And, it's hard because you have to try to pivot around that. And, like, you're motivated to train right now. You came home. You didn't train for, like, 3 weeks, right?
I didn't train for 2.5 months.
Okay. So, I mean, you're motivated.
You know what I was thinking about, though? When I was in Vienna, I went up those it's like almost 100 meters up, up those staircases. And I was thinking every step I took, I was stepping right on that spot. And I remember getting to the top and I'm like, oh my God, there's something so wrong with my foot. What am I doing?
But you wouldn't take it back because you got to visualize something. You got to see something. And
of course,
you never saw before.
Of course. So it was worth it. You deal with the pain. And so I'm in there with the surgeons, looking around at my foot, and he's got his assistant there. And I said, he goes, yeah, you got to wear some shoes. I said, well, what about these Converse? And he's like, those are the worst shoes you can wear. Possible worst shoes you can wear. I'm like, I wear them every day.
Converse people are going to be disappointed
I have like 30 pairs of Converse, and I'm like, I like these.
The flat shoe, yeah.
Because on my feet, my left foot is flat, my right foot is arched. Because when I was a child, I was walking on a seawall, and it collapsed on me, and I fell on a bed of oysters, and I cut half my foot. I almost bled to death. Yeah. So there's a bunch of scars. So my left foot is flat, so they feel comfortable. My right foot has an arch, so now I can't wear my Converse. So I'm like, he's like, well, go get some Brooks or some New Balance. I'm like, I have 2 pairs of New Balance, so I guess I'll be wearing those for the next.
You're wearing Air Maxes today.
Yeah, these have a decent support. So I'll have to go buy some of those old man New Balance. I'm sure you have 4 or 5 pairs.
No, I used to buy New Balance when I was huge because they fit a wide.
They're
foot.
wide, yeah.
And I had a super wide foot. I had like.
Why don't you wear them now? Your foot's still wide.
No, I know, but it doesn't seem like I don't like. It seemed like it was more pressure before.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm wearing.
Yeah, but you wear like Jordans, and those things are pretty narrow, aren't they?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, dude. I think when I lost the weight, I lost like a lot of that.
It's from all the drugs.
Yeah, according to Milos, So what we wanted to do, okay, because I know we get a ton of questions on here, and today we're going to answer questions that the fans wrote in, and obviously we would love more questions because I think we're going to do this. So we're calling this episode what?
So this is whatever Cutler Cast it is, but we're going to start doing What Would Jay Do? And it's people can ask questions of like what they want to know what you would do in their situation. So this will be the first episode of What Would Jay Do? Answering questions. And we have you put something up on Instagram saying, ask me some questions. Yes. So I'm sure you'll do this on a regular basis. You can either ask, maybe we'll start doing a post on the Cutler Cast page and say, ask your questions for What Would Jay Do? And have them list their questions.
Yeah. So we wanted, because we know we get so many. I mean, obviously there's a lot of comments and, a lot of time it's because of what's triggered on this podcast. But I wanted to do something really cool to kind of give back because I know there's been so many questions. So I know I got like 8 that I wanted to at least go over. And of course, I'm going to run off of these and maybe some conversation between. So I sent them to Matt. So I voice noted to you, and he was like so mad because he's like, why didn't you screenshot them?
So the timeout. I'm going to say this.
It's hard to shoot a computer screen. Go ahead.
So I'm sitting here, and he's like, and all of a sudden I see all these voice notes coming through. And I'm like thinking, oh, this is important. He's like, no, these are the questions. I'm thinking, no, you didn't. No, you didn't. So I click it, and
he
it's
types
like,
fast,
and
though.
You're like reading them off, and I'm like, what a fucking dick. And I'm like, so now I have to hold my phone and play them, and I have to go back.
Well, he showed up, and he had it. He didn't bring a second computer.
Yeah, and
he thought, oh my gosh, I forgot the question. So I'm like, that's all right. They're in my phone. I'll just put them on the thing. And
so you could just show them to me, but instead you send a voice note.
I would transcribe. I would play them on the voice, and you could just narrate them. So. Shout out to you guys. Thank you so much. And we're going to get rolling with the questions.
Okay, so the first one is, Jay, do you still follow the same nutrition since you competed, or how has it changed since retirement? You would avoid nuts and avocados and fats and such sort. How has it changed?
So funny, Chris Aceto had me on like a super low-fat diet from the beginning. So I always mention this, like when I had the opportunity to work with Chris, I was like super blessed because he didn't charge me the first time. And he wrote a 6-meal-a-day diet, and he put it on my refrigerator. And I think from the very beginning, he taught me very simplistic eating. So basically, he wanted to make it as easy as possible on him and on myself so I could make adjustments. So he basically wrote, 6 meals a day, and it was like the same basic thing. So say it was egg whites and oatmeal for meal 1. Meal 2 was like steak and baked potato. Meal 3 was like chicken and rice. Meal 4, the same. And I think the last meal was always like egg whites, right? He believed in low fat. Okay. And back then I wouldn't call myself an easy gainer, but I was more stocky, right? I graduated high school at 200. I had muscle definition. I worked concrete. I was rather lean, but not overly lean where I was a super hard gainer.
Yeah.
Now, obviously.
So mesomorph.
I guess so. Yeah. I mean, that's probably what you would call me, but I did gain like 50 pounds the first year of training once he put me on a nutrition program, okay? Because I learned how to eat 6 meals a day. I mean, I was working concrete, eating twice a day or once a day sometimes. So I think I just worked with what my body did. Now, as we got further into life and, you know, fitness and things on the internet and everything else, this bro science now has, okay, let's switch fats instead of carbohydrates. Everyone knows protein and carbs have the same calories, right? It's 4 calories per gram, where fat has 9 calories per gram. So even if it's good or bad fat, like if we're talking like nuts, avocados, I think that can be good to kind of halt the metabolism, especially as you get into lean shape. So what's different about working with Chris and then working with Hani in 2009, 10, and 11, Hani was a believer in adding some fats once I was lean enough, but off season, I would still stick to more of just eating protein, carbs, and try to stay like a little less on the fats unless I had a cheat meal, right? I'd have burgers and fries and whatever else. But I think the nuts and avocado and all that stuff can come in very handy as you're lean down and you need to kind of halt the metabolism a bit or maintain a little fullness. And now you just witnessed this with Regan.
Yes.
Because he was burning, you know, he was eating so much food.
Yes.
And this is one thing I can tell you is like when I always talk about it, there were times I was eating 1,000 grams of carbs a day because I was training 4 times. The activity levels were high. I felt like maybe I could have benefited adding some fats in there, but definitely if you're under high intensity training, you're working with a lean body, I think the fats can be very beneficial. But I do not honestly add anything like that in. What I do now is eat more loosely. So do I eat avocado when I go out for sushi? Yes.
Yeah.
I don't add it with any meals. Do I eat nuts? I do have peanuts at home, okay? I was always an almond butter guy. I do have almond butter, but I don't use it as a filler in my meals to kind of halt my metabolism, even for the Fit for 50. To be honest, I just stayed on more of a low-fat, protein, carbohydrate type diet. But Regan just used it, I think, to kind of halt his metabolism.
Yeah,
right?
when he was
bump it.
When he was backstage, it was hard. He had over 1,000 grams of carbs, and he just wasn't feeling it. And as soon as he put the high fats in, high salt in, you could see his body coming to life just from the fats and the salt.
So it's not something I add, but not to say I still think it's very beneficial for certain people. If you're a hard gainer, for sure. I always tell people, well, I'm eating so much food and this, and if they're honest about it, we'll start adding some fats. Add avocado to some meals. Add some almond butter or almonds or nuts
almonds,
or whatever, right? It will help because it will help the muscle absorb and stay a little fuller for longer.
So the main question was, what's the difference between your nutrition from competition? Is it the same types of things, just less?
Same exact program. I mean, listen, I'm not going to lie. I'm not eating 6 meals a day. For the Fit for 50, I did. It's the same foods, but just a lot less.
Yeah.
Or sometimes more, honestly.
Yeah.
I mean, depending. I mean, I'm not going to lie. Sometimes I go out and eat a huge portion of steak or potato or
sometimes
whatever
it
else.
just happens, yeah. But it doesn't affect your metabolism.
But still the same foods. Like the breakfast is the same. I have, this morning I had Ezekiel bread and egg whites, 2 whole eggs. I had oatmeal this morning, which I usually have grits. I did have oatmeal this morning. And then I just had chicken, rice, and veggies like my last 2 meals. So I've had 3 meals already today. I will get 5 meals in today for sure.
It's only one.
Yeah, I mean, I've already had 3 meals because I've been up since 6 o'clock.
The next question. Give us your thoughts on Big Romy not competing this year. Why do you think he made the decision? And what do you think his chances are coming back and being able to win it again?
Kind of a shocker. So we didn't discuss this because this news just broke this week.
Yes.
Did I expect it? I actually thought he was going to compete. I really thought he was going to. Now, people are like, we haven't seen any pictures of him. Well, we never do anyway.
Yeah.
Although last year when he put that picture up, I don't know how many weeks out that was. I said, show's over. How wrong were we, right? I mean, I talked about him at the Arnold. I thought he was very improved at the Arnold. I thought he didn't necessarily get a fair look there.
Yeah.
Shame on me. I mean, I probably would have put him a little more.
He should have been battling for the win.
Is he going to be able to come back? Dude, it's going to be very difficult him not competing this year.
Yeah.
I think unless he gets in the early shows next year, remember, he's Mr. Olympia, so he's qualified for life. He can come back in 10 years if he wants. Once you step away and you get back into real life, it's much different. And Romy doesn't need money. He doesn't thrive on the fame. It's really going to come down to what he wants to do. But I can tell you, once he steps away and maybe he attends the show or doesn't attend and sees either a repeat champ or a new champ, it's going to make that much more difficult for him to get that fire to come back. Does that make sense to you?
Just like anything else, when you're in a routine of, and I can't speak for him, but if you're in the routine of anything in life, when you step away, when you come back, it's not like it was when you were there.
I did it. Yeah. Okay. And I'm going to give you a prime example. So in 11, I had the mindset I was going to win 5. I got injured. I lost to Phil. I had only won 4 titles. I still plan to retire. In that meantime, I started up Cutler Nutrition. I got back to normal downsizing, right? And, we had this whole thought process of, maybe I'm going to do a comeback. And I came back in 13, and I literally thought, I'm going to be in contention to win this thing. Mm-hmm. And I thought leading into the show, even my body was coming around, and I'm like, wow, I'm starting to get into the rhythm, even though I traveled a lot and I only locked in for like 12 or 16 weeks.
You had the bus tour.
I had the bus tour that year, but then I locked in. I locked in for like 12 weeks. I didn't travel. And my body was just starting to come around. And I really thought, and when I stood on that stage, I just got outclassed, outmassed. I was a shadow of what I would have been. Yeah. If I gave myself another year, I still think I could have came back. So I think for Romy, yes, he can come back, but I don't feel like he should rush it and say, okay, since he sat out the Olympia, he jumps in the Arnold or the early shows, like to see. I think he needs to really take the time and plan accordingly, and I think he should really do his best to say, okay, maybe not even next year compete. I mean, he's going to be 40 by that time. Yeah. He needs to see where his head is at. He has a family. He's got more important things. So,
what's going through my head right now? I'm thinking of Conor McGregor.
Yeah.
Where once you've gotten that money, and once you were fighting to provide for your family, and now when the money's there and the fame's there, you might not have that same just like you need it.
It's like, but see, the thing is with Conor, that leg shattered right at a compound fracture. They're going to eye that. So that's his vulnerability spot.
Yeah.
Romy has holes that he needs to fix. And if those holes aren't fixed, that's going to damage him on stage. So he has to look at the big picture and realize that being the biggest isn't necessarily the best now, right? The lower lats need to be
back to where they were.
Yeah. Yes, and is that possible? And if they're not, when he turns around, they're still going to nitpick that stuff. Right. Are the arms going to be better? Are the triceps going to be? He went for the stem cells and all that. That's really what it comes down to.
He knows if his body's going to be ready.
And when you get off season blown out, doesn't mean that's what you're going to look like when you come down for a contest. Like that muscle fullness may not stay there.
Yeah.
So we know he's out. We're going to miss him. It opens up one more spot. Now we've kind of counted to how many qualified versus I know we have Legions and we have France this weekend, which we assume.
I'm assuming Nathan's going to win. That's a tough show.
So that's not going to qualify anyone, but. Who will Legions qualify if there's anyone new? If it's Justin,
Charles Griffin,
one of those guys, or
it'll probably qualify somebody.
No disrespect. I'm talking about. I know
bigger names.
John Jewett's in it. I think too.
Yeah.
So he can come back.
Yeah.
He could win it. I'm never going to say someone can't win it because I did.
Of course.
I would hate if someone said I couldn't come back and win it. I was disappointed in someone. So Romy, if you're watching this or if you're a fan of Romy, we wish you the best, and we're going to miss you this year. We hope we see you in Orlando for the contest.
Yes, for sure. What does it mean if you have a large split between your morning weight and night weight? I lost almost 5 or 6 pounds from sleeping 8 hours. What does this mean?
Everyone retains a different amount of water. I mean, I would drink up to 2 gallons a day, even now. I mean, I'm a big drinker. You go out to eat with me, I drink, at least a quarter gallon of water when I'm like drinking, eating a meal. But I had a huge fluctuation. That was one thing with me. I really had to make sure I was, hydrated enough. I went through the night, and I would lose 10 pounds. I mean, every weekend I traveled, I always talked about
Why
that.
do you think
minimum.
that is?
I just think, there's a lot of factors, but routine is the main thing, and stress factors. And, some people just bigger guys are going to be more water retentive. Does that make sense? I mean, remember, your muscle's like 70% water. So
Whole body is. Yeah.
So you need to stay hydrated. And if you're a big drinker, I think it's great if your body's pushing fluids like that.
I think and obviously I'm not an expert or anything, but when you go to sleep at night, your body is still, your organs are still moving, your heart's still beating, you're still burning calories. And if your metabolism is really fast, if you're just laying there for 8 hours, your metabolism is still burning those calories. And if you're sweating, even it could be a small amount,
a lot at night,
you're sweating and that your sheets are absorbing it.
Yes.
You could sweat 4 or 5 pounds out, and then you go to the bathroom and you have one of those 45-second pees in the morning. You don't realize you might have peed out 400 or 500 milliliters, and that's 2-3 pounds.
The crazy thing is like, I would, when I was training for contests, like I would drink a ton before I went to bed, and I'd do like fast, like a session of cardio, right? So my metabolism is that much faster. So when I laid down, and you're right, my body was going 100 miles an hour.
Yeah.
Mind was shut off, but like your body's still moving everything through. And I mean, we're burning through like a lot of fluids.
I remember reading something years ago. It showed like a certain percentage of your calories that you burn all night just sleeping there. You're still burning calories.
I would say, though, people deprive themselves the most of proper fluids.
Yeah, I do.
They drink too much caffeine, or like they're just not putting ample water in there. You made an effort since you came back from Europe to start drinking more water, because you were drinking the diet sodas and coffee all day.
I always have.
So,
but I'm doing my best to at least try to get a gallon of actual just water.
I'm telling you, water. I mean, sometimes you got to carry the gallon around with you. I mean, sometimes people snicker at those people in the gym when they carry those gallon waters around. But I'm telling you, it's very important for anyone with a fitness routine or someone trying to lose weight to keep their fluids high, in their body.
Are there specific foods you should eat when trying to put on mass, including proteins, carbs, fats? What's the best suggestion if I am a hard gainer?
Red meat, chicken. Protein has to stay high enough. Eggs, I would say for mainly for proteins, and then for your carbohydrates obviously are important too, because that's glycogen. If you're a hard gainer, you have to have an ample amount of protein and carbohydrates. I mean, like we just talked about the fats earlier. If there's some good fats in there, you might have to add some good fats in certain meals. I just wouldn't take those fats around the workouts. I would take them more like later in the day, and almost replace some of the carbohydrates with that. But definitely red meat. Like anyone hey, I want to put on some size. What would you eat?
Always. I remember
natural creatine in there.
I remembered listening to, I think it was Victor Conte or one of those other guys talking about the amount of nutritional value, how much more is in red meat versus chicken or turkey or pork or anything else, but like red meat, bison especially, because it's low in cholesterol. But you notice any of these guys that are really big and really strong, like look at Brian Shaw. He was eating like 5 pounds of bison a day. I remember Branch Warren talking about that for years. He would go shoot a bison, and he would eat bison 5 times a day.
Early on, when I was trying to put on the mass, I would have red meat 4 times a day when I was in my early 20s. Remember, I was eating the best cuts, too, because I was getting it from the butcher out in Spencer, Mass. I was buying it from an actual shop, not going to the grocery store and buying all my beef and stuff like that. But, lean red meat, definitely some chicken. I would, like eggs. I mean, I would look at, you were big. I never ate more than 2 eggs a day, but shoot, a lot of people eat 6 or 8 eggs. Remember there was that theory that, the high cholesterol eggs are so bad for you. It's coming. The studies are showing that eggs aren't so bad for you now, right? There's a lot of minerals and there's a lot in an egg white.
The nutritional values in the yolk.
Like, we talk about the egg white being 3 grams of protein, where a whole egg has like 9 grams of protein, right?
Yeah. I mean,
I wouldn't steer away from, but red meat probably would be the number one.
And the thing with cholesterol, again, I remember listening to Michael Savage. He's a even though he's a political commentator, he's got his PhD in epidemiology. And I remember him talking about, cholesterol is a genetic disposition. It's not necessarily one guy could have 1 egg a day and his cholesterol could be through the roof. The next guy could have 20 eggs a day and his cholesterol could be low. So the whole cholesterol thing where people are like, don't eat this, it's bad for you. It depends on you. You just have to get your blood work done and see if you're having these problems. I've never had a cholesterol problem, and I used to eat 12 eggs a day for many years, and I would eat red meat 5-6 times a day. I don't think my cholesterol's ever been over 200, ever. And that's just me. And then I remember my grandmother, she used to eat 1 egg a day. She'd eat like 3 meals a day, and her cholesterol's over 400.
Yeah, see, I never had an issue with that. I mean, like I said, I never went over two whole eggs a day. I always, like I said, try to eat more low fat. The cholesterol, like I said, the super lean beef I was getting from a butcher. I thought that was the cleanest. I wish I still had that advantage. I lived in the woods then. It was a lot easier.
Says, I'm getting back into it after almost 8 years off, and I've already caught up after 8 months. Will you talk about fully extending your arms straight versus keeping them slightly bent during arm curls?
Is this a joke or?
I don't know. Well, you're the form king.
That's what I'm saying.
You
didn't even realize when you read that question.
No, I know, because I'm thinking you're the one doing the form king.
I don't know if I'm the right guy to ask, but so when I do curls, I tend to use a little bit of body motion, a lot of body motion.
You mean a little bit? You sway.
So, I actually keep constant tension, so I don't think I go all the way down, right?
Yeah.
I'm trying to think how I do it. It's kind of funny. You do these exercises, you don't really think about it till you have to explain it.
You still have constant tension, even though you sway.
So I don't lock down. I just keep because this is the movement, right? For me, this is the exercise. So I guess, I don't fully I don't lock out on anything. I don't think locking out's good. I think even triceps, that's a lockout for me. So it's not like I do arms straight out. You know what I mean?
I think what they're asking is, should you do the full curl, or is it better doing, 3/4?
Let him in. He's going to get in. All right. I don't want him to walk away. Sorry. We had Junior my key's in the door. I had it locked. Sorry guys, I just locked the office. Yeah.
But I think what they're talking about is, do you do full curls, or is it better to just do 3/4?
I think it's more constant tension.
Okay.
I mean, that's what I think. That's my opinion on it. What's up, Junior?
Look at this guy.
So he comes in like a movie star.
Look at this guy. He kind of reminded me of what's his name in Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
Yeah.
Got the shades on, Max Headroom shades.
So
got the button-up shirt.
Constant tension is always good. Like I use shorter rep ranges. But everyone has their own training style, man. That's how
works
I
best for
see
you.
it. I mean, look at these guys do the strict curls, right? They back up against the wall and they I don't.
And their arms still suck.
Yeah, well,
some do, some don't.
Everyone has different genetics.
Of course.
Guys train their arms every single day. We say to take 72 hours in between. I mean, everyone's genes, right?
Yeah. Find out where it works best for you.
Yeah.
I've been following you since 2015. You have never done ice baths or cold plunges. What is your recovery routine?
I've gotten a lot of offers for free ice baths, and
I know. I think I got one the other day too. Yeah. One of my boys.
It's kind of funny. So Angie and I were sitting last night, and we're looking at infrared saunas because she really wants one. So I was.
Is that garbage, or is it actually?
No, I mean I don't know because I don't do them. I don't do ice baths. I've never done ice baths, and I've never done them because
I don't want to.
I don't know. I mean, my thing is, like I said, it's sleeping, tissue work. I've never done them because I feel like that's what everyone is doing now, and I haven't tried it. Junior, what about ice baths or saunas or infrared? It's good, right?
If you want an ice bath, I'll dump a bucket of water on your head.
Dude, I don't like being cold. I went to the cryotherapy, and I don't know if this is the kind of
I've done it once,
thing, but I didn't like it. I didn't like it that much.
Actually, me and David Bay went, and he went for 2 minutes, and I was like, oh, I got to go longer. Mm-hmm. And I got about a minute into it. I'm like, oh, this sucks. I'm like, I refuse to lose to David Bay.
Did you lose? Or
no, of course not. There was no way I was going to lose.
So what was the question? I don't do them.
They want to know what your recovery.
Okay.
What's your recovery
tissue
routine?
Work, sleeping. I used to do saunas. I mean, I used to go after the gym if your gym has a sauna. But listen, a lot of people don't have that ability. Like they're training at home or whatever else.
Mm-hmm.
Tissue work, number one. Sleep. Well, sleep's number one.
Yes.
I mean, I used to do everything. Yoga.
I don't know. I don't know about this whole like cold plunge and ice bath. It's like
They say it's good for your mental state too.
Probably.
That's what they're saying. The ice baths are good for like concentration.
I know Brian Shaw swears by them. Obviously he puts it, but he has like 2 hot tubs.
Okay.
One's got hot, one's got cold. And I think he goes back and forth. And I remember Chris Bumstead talking about it because he has that condition where
He likes
they wanted
it.
to give
Works
him
well for him,
medication,
right?
but he said that cold bath like actually does more for him than any medication, so he doesn't have to take it. So for him, it seems like it really works well, but I'm assuming it has benefits. I just don't. I don't know.
If someone wants to reach out and give us a cold
pay
plunge,
us a bunch of money?
No, give us a cold
We can
plunge
get
or
a
whatever.
cold plunge if you
Okay,
want
well
one.
maybe we'll get one and we'll try it out and we'll let you guys know.
No, we
but-
need to film you sitting in it.
Okay, I'll do that. So thank you. Just gave me a great idea. I appreciate that question.
Have you ever seen that Cold as Balls? With
yes,
Kevin Hart.
Yeah.
That's what I'm going to ask him if you can go on there just to
Yeah.
see you freezing in that. Let's see. Why don't you increase your weight slightly? Not back to your competition weight, but if you went up 10 to 20%, that would be really cool. That's not really a question. I think you're just being called out.
Oh, why don't I increase the weight?
Oh, like, why don't you just put on like 10 to 20% would mean you putting on like 40 pounds.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of did the Fit for 50, so I think it.
But how much did your weight go up?
I lost weight, but
Yeah.
the truth is I don't know. I just don't really want. I think bulking is. I hate that word, bulking.
I don't
but
think this person realizes that 10 to 20%, if you're 240, is 25 to 50 pounds. That's you being 275 to 300. That's a huge difference.
It's the time. I don't know if I could do it on what kind of regimen I'm doing with supplements, food, obviously more extreme food, and then I think it's more just the effort, how I feel. You know what I mean?
It becomes a full-time job.
I don't miss that size. The only time I miss the size is when I actually get to watch one of my training videos and say, man, I remember walking in the gym and feeling like I could get under any machine and do any exercise, and immediately I was pumped up.
Yeah.
Because today it's not the same. Like I go to the gym and train, and it's like I don't feel the muscle come alive like that.
Yeah.
Sometimes I do. It just depends on the body part. But like I always talk about, my shoulders are the biggest disappointment for me because I don't really get a big pump in the shoulders. I started to get a little bit as I got deeper into the prep last. But for me, I just miss that crazy pump and whatever else, but I don't miss the effort to get there. Does that make sense?
Of course. I mean, it's a full-time.
But I think at 50, it's just like bigger is not better. I constantly say this, right?
At 50 years old, you cannot have 275 to 300 pounds of body weight. And what people may not understand, if you're 275 to 300 pounds of muscle mass, it's way harder on the heart than 275 to 300 pounds if somebody's overweight with fat, because muscle requires more blood volume. And at that age, at 50 years old, weighing that much, it's actually dangerous. So
Yeah, I mean, I'm backing down the training as it is. Like I'm doing
as we get older, we need
days
to
a
be
week
smaller.
now. Yeah.
Yeah. So it would be dangerous. And the last question would be, what do you think you're accomplishing for 1 hour of cardio? You do 1 hour. Is it for a calorie burn? You always said cardio is counterproductive for bodybuilding. Please explain.
Good question, actually.
You're getting called out, sir.
No. So number one, metabolism boost. So I never look at calories. So I don't do any calorie counters or anything like that. I know people today are measuring steps, like they do that whole step thing, 10,000 steps a day. I do the fasted cardio in the morning. I actually meditate. I hate to say this because I don't know, it sounds awkward, but I use it as kind of a thought process to kind of navigate my day, plan my day. It's my me time, right?
Yeah.
Where I can really just kind of concentrate and plan everything in my head and talk and think about all the problems, talk to myself.
Yeah.
But it is a metabolism boost. I feel that metabolism helps burn fat. I feel it's great for the heart. I get up and drink, 2 big glasses of water in the morning. And then I dive right into, an hour of cardio. But I think it really helps kind of set the tone for my day. And I don't know if I definitely feel better doing the hour. Like I've not gone back to losing that. Like I've stayed at it. I moved my way up from 20 minutes to 30 to 40 to 45 to 1 full hour. And I'm still doing that 1 full hour, even though the Fit for 50 is finished.
Do you do it at once or do you split
all
it up?
once? And then even like a lot of days I'll do a second session. But my goal now is to only train 3 to 4 days a week total. Mm-hmm. And that might be 3 or 4 days in a row. It might be every other day. I'm going to train my body parts once a week, and it's going to be, only 3 or 4 days in the gym. So like yesterday I did legs. My next workout might be like chest and shoulders, and then I might do like back and arms or something. And another day, yes. And that's how I'll probably try to space it out. So it's like I'll go Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and then take the weekends off. That's kind of the goal of my schedule right now.
Yeah, that's good. I remember when I was younger I would know the night before. I'd get so excited when I was going to train. I'm going to train legs tomorrow, and I'm going to do this and this and this and this. And I would get so excited. And now when someone's like, hey, what are you training tomorrow? I'm like, I don't know. I'm like, when are you going to decide? I'm like, when I walk in the door.
I used to pre-write in my journal the movements.
Yeah.
And I would have the 4 sets to each one, but I didn't have the amounts yet, right? And how many reps. So I literally could look at the journal and say, okay, I already mapped it out from the day prior. That's how excited I was. Dude, I used to get up at 4 a.m. and drive 45 minutes to a gym just to train on hammer strength or use a certain calf machine. Or I remember there was like the ham tractor for hamstrings, the seated hamstring. And I'd be like, oh my God, I can't wait to go get on that machine. I really thought, like, I bought my first thing of protein and I was like, this is the secret. Yeah. And I drank it all in a day, right? And I was on the toilet. I thought that ham tractor was going to give me the best hamstrings ever. Cause that was like, I had great quads, but shitty hamstrings. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, this is going to help me. And that's like, you really think that stuff.
Yeah.
And I used to drive out there to the gym and I used to get there and I'd be done training by like 8 o'clock. And
do you still remember the first time you got a supplement? Was it protein?
Yeah, no, I bought Perfect. It was called Perfect 1100. Uh-huh. And I literally bought it from GNC. I saved up the money and I brought it home. And I remember placing it on I was downstairs in my dad's house and I placed it on the table. And I'm like, this is it. And I saved the bottle after, I went through the bottle and I saved it and put it on the shelf because I wanted, like, when people walk in, be like, oh, he's serious. He's got the bottle there.
You sound worse than me.
You know what I mean? But that's, dude, you think that stuff.
No, I remember seeing the magazine and there was an ad for Fort Swain Sports Nutrition. This is 20-something years ago. And I remember calling the guy. And
what is it called?
It was called Fort Wayne Sports Nutrition in Indiana. He had an ad in like one of the Muscle Mag Internationals.
In the back of them?
Yeah, with all the pictures. I'm like, oh my God, this guy is Celtech.
Yeah.
So I bought Celtech. And I remember calling him and he's like, yeah, I'm the owner and blah, 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 blah. And he's like, I got this new stuff in. It's like top secret. It comes in capsules and it's called androstenedione. He's like, this is like stronger than steroids. And I know I took steroids. He's going on and on and on and on and on. And I remember getting it in, and I'm thinking, at the time I was living with my grandparents. I was in high school. Yeah. I was living with my grandparents, and I'm like, oh my God, I got this Celtech. I got to hide it. I can't. My grandma will see this, and she's like going to think I've got some weird drug in here or something.
Did you buy the Andro?
Yeah, I bought everything.
Andro was good then.
Of course. Because I remember when I was in my early 20s, I was sitting down with my uncle. My uncle was my doctor. And I started getting stretch marks.
Yeah.
And I was like, I want to take drugs. And he's like, you're already on drugs. And I'm like, no, I'm not. And he goes, that's called striae. He's like, and I said, that's because I'm so huge.
What is it called?
Striae, but it just means stretch marks.
Oh, okay.
And I said, no, it's from I'm so huge. He's like, you're not that huge. He's like, that's from a hormonal imbalance. You have mixed up hormones. I can see it. I know what I'm talking about. You're a liar. I'm like, I'm not taking anything.
Dude, they banned
But it was Andro.
Yes. They banned it.
Of course.
Remember the companies would come out and they'd have like the snap out. Like,
yeah. And
so
you thought it was real
gear.
drugs. Yeah. Yep. So I was taking this, and I remember like thinking, like going to the gym the first time, and I'm like, these guys have no idea. I got Celtech in me, and I got androstenedione in me, and I'm gonna this gym up.
Dude, I never forget when we were training. Like we would do our little lifts for high school, and like I was a sophomore, and we started lifting in this gym, and this kid one day brought in Joe Weider's chewable amino acids, right? And it had a picture of Joe with his arms, on the bottle. And I remember, dude, it was like chalk, but we were all sitting around. He's like, "Kid, eat these," and you had to eat like 8 at a time or something, and we would chew them. And literally, it was like sawdust in your mouth. You know what I mean? But we were like, didn't care because we thought this was, oh my God, we're gonna get huge from these amino acids.
The only other time, and I'll probably say this to him when I see him, the only other time I remembered buying supplements, Tim Gardner got me Beverly International liver pills.
Yeah.
And they were so big, and he's like, you got to take like 8 of these.
Yep.
And I remember like eating them. I'm like, these things suck. And I'm like, what the?
Was he big then, or
Tim was in really good shape.
Yeah.
And I remember like thinking like, okay, I'll eat these. And I don't know what they did, but I remembered just having the horse.
So
those pills are so big.
they were like this big.
They're huge, and you're like, I got to take 12 of these or some huge amount.
I'm sure this is going to trigger like the ultimate orange thing and all that stuff.
I remember taking that. Yep.
They always said there was something extra in that product. And
the thing that I always remembered was the Celtec. And I'm sure if we look at it now, it was just a bunch of sugar.
People used to make fun of me because I endorsed it, right? But I used it, and it worked well for me. Like
especially if you had all that sugar, you needed it from banging Slin and whatever else. You need to. Celtec was
dextrose. I mean, but it tore up people's stomachs sometimes, you know.
But when people, if I remember the ad, it was like guaranteed 27 pounds in 30 days. Like, you'd be a diabetic.
I don't know if you could actually run those kind of ads these days, but
no, someone would sue you for sure. But yeah, those are the questions, and we'll do another. What would Jay do?
Yeah, so that's kind of be the series, because we, like I said, we're out and about. We want to appreciate everyone that, number one, that follows this, but at the same time tunes in and listens. I'm really shocked sometimes on the responses, because we have a lot of topics on here, and I know that everyone has their opinions, right? And we kind of sit back, and I know we kind of voice sometimes, and you may or may not agree. And listen, there's a lot of times I don't agree with Matt, I don't agree with Milos, or they don't agree with me. I mean, we all have our theories and what thought processes are, and there's a lot of podcasts out there, and you have the choice to watch a lot. And I know that a lot of people have been mentioning like, hey, we really enjoy watching yours. And sometimes, I sit back, and I've been in the industry for so long, and I never realized that my voice would have so much weight to what I do, right? Because I was just a guy wanting to learn early on. And a lot of this, my thought processes of what I suggest is through trial and error, because without that, I feel like there's no real textbook answer to everything. Like, just like the questions asked, like, between fats, and it's a theory, right? So everything that I say on here is kind of like my opinion, right?
What's worked for you?
What's worked, and I've tried it, right? And not to say I've tried heavy duty training, or that's another question I get a lot, is like, why do you prefer volume over like training to failure and whatever else? It's just what Chris taught me.
And it worked for you, though.
It worked, so I didn't change it. Could I have been better if I did heavy duty? I don't know. Yeah. But the truth is whenever someone says, could you have been better, or could you have done this or done, I look back and I say, man, I had a pretty successful, lengthy post-career, right? That's all you can really ask for, is number one, to have great success, to leave a legacy, right, that people are motivated by, and of course have a bright side on the other side, right? Meaning like injury-free, I can still train, but I'm smart enough to realize that you can only burn the candle at both ends for so long, right? Yeah. So I know I have to back up. So when I have the questions on like, eat more, train more, Milos tell me, you need to get bigger, you need to do this. It's like, hey, I want to get to the best path in the shortest distance, right? Without having to do extra.
But that's with everything in life, period.
Of course. So I'd rather just use the knowledge that I have, the direction that I've learned, and that's what I'm going to spill out, and I'm going to, try to put out to our audience and everyone else. But we want to say we appreciate you guys more than you know. This is 92. We're getting close on 100. So on 100, we're really going to have to do something super special. I think we're going to have to come up with something. So we appreciate you guys following along. Make sure you guys comment. We would love more questions. It would be ideal if you could get
I'm going to put questions. A post. What I'll do is I'll put a post up on the Instagram and say, okay, what would Jay do? Ask your questions. And maybe every time we're going to do one, we'll post something up.
Okay.
And
appreciate you guys, and make sure you guys comment below, and we'll see you at episode 93.